Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Brent Builds Online. Tonight I'm excited to share with you guys a cool shortcut that I built using the Mac Shortcuts app. So without any further ado, we're just going to jump right into it here. And before I go over how to build this shortcut, I first want to explain kind of what it does and what the advantage of it is. So when I'm recording my videos, I'm kind of particular about how the files get stored and output and stuff. Now, I would like it to be that every time I create a clip for my video that I'm working on, that the computer asks me what I would like to name the project. And then it will go and create a folder for me to then store all the clips that I record in a session into that folder. After the session is over, then we're going to run another automation that's going to be triggered by the close of our recording software. When we close our recording software, what it's going to do is check to see if we are actually in a recording session at the time. And if so, we are going to take all the clips and files that we just recorded and we're going to move them to that new project folder. So after we move the files, then we're going to rename them sequentially in the order in which they were made. So the earliest recorded video is going to be renamed clip 1. The second oldest is going to be named clip 2, so on and so forth for as many videos as we record. The way that we do that is we're going to need two different shortcuts that I've written here on Mac OS shortcuts. But I will be making these shortcuts available in the link in the description, so look out for that. And if you want to follow along on how to build these, that is great. If you want to just download those and get it running and set up for your system, then that's fine too. So now let's take a look at the Start Recording Sesh shortcut. And this is really the shorter of the two shortcuts. You'll see in a moment that we have a lot more work to do when we end the recording session. But the very first thing we're going to do, and you know what, I'm going to just walk through this by building another one, a duplicate one. So let's add a new shortcut in here. And that will give me a chance to kind of explain. Let me just adjust these windows just a little bit. That'll give me a chance to explain as I go why each step is necessary. So we're just going to rename this one our dummy start. Okay, that'll just be the dummy start. You could change the colors and icon if you want to, as I did on my start recording sesh. But for right now, we're not going to worry about it. The very first thing we need to do is prompt the user for input. So I'm just going to go to ask for input. And you can just type that up here and grab the action out of the sidebar there. It's going to ask for text. Text is what we want with a prompt. And so I just put video project name for the prompt. Okay, now we've got our prompt in there. So the next thing that we need to do is store that to a variable, which you could argue is, you don't, we need to drag that beneath that action. Now, I was going to say, you could argue that this step is not actually necessary with the size of this script. You might not even need to actually store this to a variable, but I like to do it to just keep in line with what I think is the best practices, and it helps me avoid confusion. So don't feel bad if you got to use a variable name here, but if you want to skip it, you can also do that. So I'm going to set this to project name here so it's more clear what we're working with. We can easily remember that this is the project name. We're going to create a new folder, and it's going to ask us where we want to make that folder. So for me, I use OBS to record my videos, and it lets you set the output path for the files that you record. Now, I'm saving those to my movies directory because that's just what it defaulted to. So for me, I'm going to put movies. But if you save your video clips to a different file, you're going to want to go open up your Finder like I just did by clicking the word shortcuts. That's just the default. Click that word shortcuts. And then what we're going to do is navigate to the directory that you use where you store your files. Mine is movies, like I said, so I'm just going to open that. At path, and then the path, we're just going to right click on that and select the variable that we just made, project name. That's another reason why you might want to actually set it to a variable, is that as these scripts get bigger, as these shortcuts get bigger and you build bigger ones, it is just so nice to be able to right click and select the exact variable that you need from that context window. So the next thing that we're going to do, we're going to grab the parent directory of the folder that we just created. So git parent directory. There's so many actions that you can take. It's a little overwhelming if you just scroll through them. So I always use the search because I've just found it to be easier. Get the parent directory. You can see it defaults to the created folder. We're going to take some text. Okay, sorry, I moved that over a little bit for you guys because I realized I was covering part of that. But what we're going to do is search for text, and actually I just see it right here. And we're going to actually set the text that we're going to save this file to. So right now, project name is what we want to use. So we're just going to right click here and insert variable project name. And that will convert that to text, which we are now going to save to a file. Okay, so we're going to come up here and we're going to search for append to text file. And this is going to be called, or actually we're going to pull the text rather from the last step, from the previous step. And where would we like to save it? We're going to save it to the parent directory that we had called before, that we had found before rather. And we're just going to call this file path. You can just put start.txt. And the make a new line, I am going to be honest with you guys, I really don't understand what that does yet, or I don't know. I tried to look up the documentation for that, but it wasn't really clear from Apple what that does. So if you know, let me know down in the comments. I'd appreciate that. Okay, and the last thing that we're going to do for this shortcut is we are going to open an application. And that is going to be your recording software. So for me, it's OBS. For you, if you're using, I don't know, some other recording software, you just click that word app in the open app action, and then it will bring up the list of applications for you to choose from. So you guys can go ahead and run this. I just so happen to be in the middle of a recording session right now, so I'm not going to run the one that I just built. It should work for you. If you run it and it does not work, please leave a comment down in the comments of this video, and I will try my best to address that and help you through it and help you figure out what's wrong with that. But I wanted to show it to you guys in action. So when I am making a new clip, it actually puts this little like kind of reserved file marker thing in here. And I'll show you what happens if I stop the clip. You can see that it has now generated a new clip for me, and the old clip, that 1952-16, is now officially saved in my movies folder. Okay, so the next thing that we've got to do is figure out how we can run this end recording sesh once we close out of our recording software. Okay guys, so the only thing that I've found that will actually accomplish the goal of triggering this shortcut when we close out of the software is this application called Shortery. Now, a quick side note here, if you watch my behind the scenes video, which I'm going to do on this, you will see that it's really frustrating that you need third-party software to trigger these shortcuts, and Apple just did not even bake that into the Shortcuts app on the desktop, which is so frustrating. If we come down here to Shortery, and I'll just open this up, you can see I've got one that I already built. So this trigger that I've already built is called End Recording Sesh, and you can name it whatever you want. The important thing is that the trigger type is application. Give it the name here, and then it will give you this drop down of different shortcuts that you would like to run. So we have not yet built the shortcut that we're going to run, but when we do, we're going to come back here and we're going to select it from this list here. Okay. Then we're going to enable the trigger. It doesn't matter for this one if you run the Mac or run when the Mac is locked, rather, because you're not going to be doing this shortcut if the Mac is locked. Input strings, leave that unchecked. My application is OBS Studio. Yours would be whatever recording software you use. And we just want to put that the app is quit, and that is what's going to trigger this automation, is when the app actually closes. And so now we're going to go over and we're going to take a look at the end recording sesh, because this one is a doozy. Okay, I don't think I'm going to actually build this one in front of you guys because it took so long to build the first time and I ran into so many different little complications. I would rather you guys just go download this because it's working. And I will put comments in here as well that kind of explain why each step was necessary. The first thing that we're doing is getting a file from Movies or wherever you record your clips, and then we're going to find that start file that we created in the first automation. So it's start.txt, right? We're going to save that file to a variable. Yes, the file itself is actually being saved into a variable. That's going to be important later. For now, we are going to try to extract the text from that file, the name of the project that we gave it earlier. And so how we're going to do that is we're going to use the text node, and we are going to insert the file, and we're going to kind of do what's called, like, it's sort of like typecasting, where we kind of force the computer to recognize this as, instead of a file, it's going to recognize it as a string of text. We are going to save that text to another variable, which I called pname for project name. We're going to get the parent directory of that file, which is movies for me, or your root recording file for you, wherever that may be. We're going to get the folder, the file, I know it says file here, but we're actually getting a folder from the movies directory at path project name, pname. Okay, so set variable project file, to be the file that we just grabbed, or the folder rather. We know that this is a folder that's getting grabbed, and we're going to save that to that variable. Okay, next we're going to check if the S file, starting file, has any value. So if it has no value, what that means is we never ran the start recording sesh automation. And it's conceivable that you might be running your recording software without running that automation first. So maybe you didn't want to start a project, you just wanted to record something real quick. When you X out of this application, that automation trigger is going to fire that we just made. So it's going to run this each time. So if there is no value for that start.txt, if start.txt doesn't exist, then we're actually going to skip over all this stuff and we're not going to do anything because nothing needs to be done. There's no clips that were recorded. We never indicated that we were ready to start a recording sesh. Now, assuming we did actually start a recording session, we are going to get the creation date of the start file. And here again, I ran into a bit of a snag, which I will explain in my behind the scenes video when I do that one. But suffice to say, there are a lot of little frustrating twists and turns along the journey of building one of these things, which you never foresee when you start out planning how you're going to build them. Regardless, moving on, we set the creation date to a variable called stime. We get the contents of the folder movies. So all the files in that folder, which I'll drag over here, you can see one's being recorded right now as I speak. All of these files, anything created after start.txt, is what we're trying to look for right here. So I'm going to move that back over here. And for each of those items in the movies directory, so that includes this CapCut folder, that includes the recording sesh shortcut folder that we made in the beginning with the first automation, start.txt, and all the clips. Like, it's going to iterate over all of those. For each of these items that it grabs, we are going to get the creation date of that item, okay? And then we are going to compare the amount of time between the start time of start.txt, so that's the creation time of start.txt, and the creation date of this file that we're on in the loop. If that time, we're going to grab that amount of time in seconds. If the time between those two dates is greater than 0, so if those files here, any of these files here that are older than start.txt, we want to move that item to projfile, which projfile is, if we scroll back up here, the actual file, the actual project file, okay? So we set that earlier, and we're actually done with part of this automation, okay? The first part of this ending automation. So we'd moved all those project files into the correct directory, into the right folder. Now, what we're gonna do is get the contents of that file, being the project folder. We're going to count how many items are in the project folder, how many clips we moved over there. And we are gonna set that count to a variable, which in this case is I for iterator or iteration. What we need to do next is order those files chronologically. So if you grab the filter action, you can set the input to be the contents of the get contents of folder, or get contents of folder file, which is a folder. But you're going to want to come down here to sort by and then click the creation date. Order, I do last to first, because down here what we're going to do is for each of those files, we're still in that project folder directory, mind you. For each of the files in that project folder, we are going to rename them now. So I'm going to rename them to clip, and then if you right click in here, what you can do is combine a string with a variable. You just right click and insert variable, and we're going to put I. So I right now at this moment in time is the full count of all the files in the project folder directory. Every time we run this, after we rename it, we're going to subtract 1 from I, from the variable I. So we're going to use a calculation action for that. And then we are going to save that back to the I variable to update it. And you will find that after all that has run, the clips will be have been renamed sequentially in the order in which they were produced. So we can safely end the repeat now at this point, and then we're going to bring in our delete action here. Now you can just click the input button right there, and then you can just pick. We know that start.txt is always going to be in the same place because we're always recording our videos to the same directory, which is movies. So I'm just going to select start.txt and click open, and that will then go in and delete that start.txt and do a little cleanup after all is moved around and all is said and done. Finally, I'm going to open my editing software, which I use CapCut. Now, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be like, well, why do you use CapCut? That's stupid. Or you've got your own preferences. That's just the one that I know the best and that I use most often. So you just use the open app, the same one we did in the first recording sesh, the start recording sesh. So we'll open the app and we're just going to click that button again where it says app, and then we are going to select CapCut or whatever, Final Cut Pro, whatever you use to edit your videos. Finally, the very last thing is we just got to close that if statement from before, which is checking if that start.txt exists or not. Okay, so now we're at the end of our automations process, and I would really like to encourage you guys to go watch my behind the scenes video that I'm going to do, because there was a lot more to this and it took a lot longer than it really should have. And you get to see kind of the frustrating hurdles that I face and how I overcome them and stuff like that along the way. So it is pretty insightful. I'd encourage that. But we're going to go ahead and I'm going to try to show you for this recording session that I'm in right now, I want to show it to you in action. However, in order to run this automation, I need to close my recording software. So I promise you guys that I'm not going to do any fancy things behind the scenes while it's not recording. I'm not going to cheat in any way. The end result that you're about to see is, in fact, the automation running. I will move no files myself. I will not rename anything myself. What I'm about to show you is the result of this automation and how it works. So pay attention. All these files are in the movies directory right now. When I hit the exit button on OBS, it will move and rename them to recording sesh.short or recording sesh shortcut, and then it will erase the start.txt. Okay, guys, we're back, and it actually did work, but I then I started another recording session called ending to do this ending. So we're going to click in here. Trust me, this was not here before. You'll see for yourself if you download this that it actually does work, I promise you. But we're going to go into recording sesh, and you can see that all of my clips now have been renamed. I've got 49 clips that I've got to edit. And fortunately for me, it also brought up my CapCut, which is up in the top here. So I'll bring that down. So this did open up CapCut. And now the great thing is that when I'm done with this recording session, I can just go up here and I can start a new project in CapCut. And I can come over here to my Finder window and I can just import this whole folder right into CapCut. And if we double click it, we can order them. Let's try to order them, sort by name. Can we do that reverse, A to Z? There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, great. So all the clips are ordered and in that folder. Okay, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Don't forget to tune in next time for the behind the scenes where you get to see all the stuff that I did step by step, and it'll be really great for if you want to do this yourself too. You'll see kinds of the ins and outs of writing automations and some of the hurdles that you typically face along the way. Thank you for watching this video. We'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to leave me a like, comment, or subscribe to my channel if you find these videos useful, and we'll see you guys on the next video.